Thank you for having me, Lori. I'm so excited to be here.
Oh my God. I say this about everybody, but I'm very particular who I allow on our webinar stage. And Candace Cody is here today from Community Boost. You guys ask us all the time, how do I fill the seats? How do I get more people to know about our event? How do we market? I brought in the pro, and Candace has the answers to your questions. Again, Candace, thank you.
Thank you so much, Lori, for having me. I am so excited to be here with you and the Austria audience. And I am ready to dive into Elevate 2025, build your nonprofit's comprehensive marketing plan. So thank you
Awesome.
again.
In the chat, can I ask everybody to type in where they're tuning in from geographically, what kind of organization they're fundraising for? Candace, sometimes people make friends in our chat just because they're local to each other, but also sometimes because they're running the same sort of charity activities. So I'm happy to offer that I am in sunny South Florida today, and I love to help everybody. Candace, talk to me about your location.
I am so jealous. I would love to be somewhere that is a bit warmer, but I'm in Astoria in New York, so in the city. But I see we have Princey from Dallas. We have so many amazing organizations joining from Washington State, Meals on Wheels, Wisconsin. We have another Tallahassee, Florida. We have LA. Thank you for joining. Asheville, North Carolina. So many people from all over the country. This is so cool.
We're going coast to coast here, Candace.
I
I'll turn
love
over the
it.
keys to you, and then we have a little survey that we want to ask you guys shortly. Candace, please.
Thanks so much, Lori. And I'm so excited to be here today with all of you. Just a little bit about myself before I get into all the details. So, I have been working in the nonprofit sector for about 10 years. And I have done everything from helping organizations tell their stories better to helping organizations get set up with their digital fundraising and running their fundraising events online to what I do today, which is the director of events at Community Boost. And I really empower organizations to help them drive growth through free resources like this one. I'll do webinars, but I also run the Nonprofit Marketing Summit with my amazing team here at Community Boost. Shout out Princey. And I would love to also invite you to join. So, this is an opportunity for you if you would like to get more free resources like this one. You can hear myself speak, you can hear Lori speak. We have so many really incredible sessions lined up for you. So it's a completely free virtual conference for nonprofit professionals like yourself. If you haven't been before, we would love to have you. And if you have, we'd love to have you back. It's called the Nonprofit Marketing Summit Evolve. We are helping you adapt and thrive in 2025. So we'd love to have you join us on March 4th through 6th. And we have so many incredible speakers, Lori included. And we also are excited to welcome Deepak Chopra, Neil Patel, Vu Lei. And you should definitely grab your seat, completely free. You can register. There's a QR code. You can go to nonprofitmarketingsummit.org. Or I think Princey actually dropped some links in the chat as well. So I am just thankful again for Austria for joining us for the Nonprofit Marketing Summit as well. And I would love to share just a little bit more about Community Boost, where I work today. So our mission is to scale social impact by growing thriving communities. And we do this with the power of digital marketing. So we've worked with over 1,300 organizations, helping them actively run their marketing to end up raising over $115 million. We've been around for 12 years. We've been doing this a long time, and we are a partner with Google, and we've worked with so many incredible organizations, including Charity Water, Equal Justice Initiative, the Field Museum, and United Ways, and so many more incredible organizations. And we would love to potentially work with you if you're interested in learning more. So that's just a little bit about Community Boost, and I wanted to get into our agenda for today. So I'm going to present to you the case for a comprehensive marketing plan to guide all of your decision making this year. And then I'm going to talk a little bit of how you can actively build that 2025 nonprofit marketing plan with a template download. So you're going to walk away with a framework for you to build your own marketing plan. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, the framework and some of the tools and things that you should consider when it comes to building your strategy. And then I'm going to hopefully get into a little Q&A at the end. So I'll try to save some time, keep those questions going. I think there's a Q&A pane, so put them there, put them in the chat. We'll try to grab as many as we can. Awesome. So thank you again for joining. And I would like to present to you the case for a nonprofit marketing plan. So when you're in year-end mode, which feels like a long time ago, or at least it does for me, it's like a bit of a roller coaster. There's a lot of highs, there's a lot of lows. It's kind of stressful, or it's very stressful. But the wins are big and you're doing 10 things at once, just trying to get through the end of the year. And so what happens with a lot of organizations that I've worked with is that, how you plan right now will set the stage for how you can both retain donors and also drive growth at your organization all year round. So now is the time to get busy planning, because this is where we set ourselves up for success all year round. And so there's a basic framework that I want to share with you. This could be called a marketing funnel. There's things that people reference called a flywheel. It's all the same basic principle. So the general framework that we're going to refer back to throughout this presentation is really just the whole process of attracting new people to your organization, capturing their email, getting them to follow you or like your posts on social media, just getting them to make that first initial engagement so that you can continue to nurture and then hopefully convert that audience into new donors. And then, of course, the goal will be to retain those donors for the long run. So that's just a basic framework that you want to think about when it comes to all nonprofit marketing. And hopefully, when you drive up retention rates, that also helps you attract and engage and convert more donors. And so throughout my years of fundraising with organizations, I found 4 fundamental ways that you can grow fundraising. And the first one is probably the one that everyone thinks of the most, which is, hey, we want to grow our fundraising. We need more donors. So this is true. You do need more donors if you want to continue driving growth. But that is only one of the 4 ways that you want to drive up giving. The second one is to increase your average gift size. And so you can get more funds coming through the door if you increase the gift size of the same amount of donors. So just taking the same amount of donors that you got last year and increasing that average gift size so that you can also grow fundraising. Number 3 is increasing donor retention. It is way more costly to get a new donor through the door than it is to retain an old donor. So especially now, right after year end, you probably have some new and old donors alike. Now's the time to really be investing in that donor retention strategy so that you can get them to give again in 3, 6, 9, and 12 months again, so that you get them locked in for the long haul and you're able to really sustainably grow your fundraising. I think increasing average gift size and increasing donor retention are really, really great sustainable fundraising practices. And number 4 is to increase your return on investment. And so this is one of the sneakier ones, but when you look at all of the things that you're investing, team time, you're purchasing platforms and resources and all of these things, if you use tools that help you raise more while also, keeping your costs really low, and you're able to potentially, cut out some things that you don't need, then you have more money in your pocket to run your organization. So that is the little bit sneakier one, but still important. So we're going to talk about these 4 ways to grow your fundraising and put them into context of just the different marketing strategies that you can use for your organization and how they all interact. Because ideally, you're using all 4 of these strategies and building it into your plan for the year so that you have a plan that's not just, that's really just like set for success, basically. So, what is a nonprofit marketing plan? A nonprofit marketing plan outlines your objectives, your goals, and the strategies that you need to reach their goals. It is not a whole year long comprehensive calendar. It is not every single little thing that you need to do throughout the year. That would be overwhelming. That's not what we're doing today. It really is just creating that backbone of your marketing strategy to help you guide your decisions year round. That way, if you know what your objectives are and you know the strategies that you're using to get there, you can very easily say no to the things that aren't going to help you reach your goals and say yes to the things that will. And so that's why the nonprofit marketing plan is a great backbone, and it's supposed to be a living document that you come back to throughout the year to help guide your decision-making process. And when you have a marketing plan in place for the year, you're planning for growth instead of being reactionary. So that way you have a firm foundation. And so when something changes, there's, a team member drops off, there's a new urgent campaign that you have to spin up. You have this plan to go back to so that you're going back to that growth plan instead of only being reactionary and trying to fundraise when funds are low or launching a campaign from a reactionary place. And so this will really help you choose the right strategies for your nonprofit and identify what isn't right for you this year. And I do think that this is really important. And so I'll be talking a lot about different marketing strategies. These are all opportunities for you. You want to think about what are the right strategies that will help you reach your audience. And so just because something is a good fit for another organization doesn't always mean that it's a good fit for you. So having this set in your marketing plan can really help set you up for success. It is designed to help you really make success measurable as well. So we'll talk a bit about those key performance indicators that you might want to set for each of your marketing strategies so that you have a very predictable way for you to reach your goals. A marketing plan also can help you spot new growth opportunities for 2025. We'll talk a little bit about this in just a few moments. And this plan also helps you get the buy-in that you need from your team, your board, and helps you advocate for more resources so that not just you, but your entire team are aligned with everything that you need in order to make this plan possible throughout the year. And last but certainly not least, it informs and streamlines your communications. You can use this to really identify the voice that you want to use as your organization and also identify maybe some segments of your community that you want to really focus on this year. And so I really encourage you to download the 2025 Nonprofit Marketing Plan template. This is what I'm going to be referencing. It'll be a really great guide for you to have it even downloaded right now so that, you can follow along on your end and start thinking about how you want to plug in your own nonprofit's plan into this template. So you can go ahead, download the template. I'll leave it up for just another moment. I know Lori put the template in the chat as well.
Princey beat me to it. He's faster than I am.
I know. Princey is always so fast.
You guys are a pleasure to work with. That's why I invited you here.
Yeah. Thanks again, Lori. So yeah, go ahead, download your template. I think it will really help you frame the conversation for yourself and maybe even start mapping out some of your own plans. So now let's get into how to create your 2025 nonprofit marketing plan. So you'll see that there are about, is it 8 or 9 things here? So you're going to have an organization summary, your organization's initiatives, so those top-down initiatives that help frame all of your marketing goals. So it's really important to have that organizational alignment with your marketing goals. We'll talk about how to do a SWOT analysis. We'll get into how to identify your target audience and create a donor persona. We'll talk a little bit about competitive analysis, which it's funny because some people like that, some people don't, but
Mhm.
I think it's really interesting. So I'd love to share a little bit more about how you can craft that for yourself. We'll talk a bit about defining those smart marketing goals, and then we'll get into defining strategies, key performance indicators, and actual channels for you to really consider when it comes to your marketing at your organization. So it's a lot. So I broke it up into 3 basic steps to creating your marketing plan. So first one is organization alignment. So it's basically making sure that your marketing goals are aligned with your organization's mission and your overall goals. I can't tell you how many times organizations will be like, well, we have to do this gala. And so you're like, okay, well, like let's do the gala. Like let's see what that's about. And then it doesn't really align with their mission. It doesn't really align with their vision. It seems like, they're doing something because they always have done this maybe in the past. And so when you really map your own marketing goals with your organizational goals, you can make sure that there's alignment between what your initiatives are doing and how they contribute to the overall growth of the organization. And so to help with this organizational alignment, what is really, really handy dandy, especially in a pinch, especially if you're, applying for some grants, especially if you have really anything that you're sharing externally, you want to have your vision and your mission in a document that is very easy to access. Even if it's on your website, you don't want to have to go back to your website all the time. Just copy paste your vision and mission. So your vision is, of course, what your nonprofit wants to achieve. Your mission is how exactly your nonprofit is going to achieve it. And then a quick overview of just the organization name. Your EIN is really helpful to have in there, the location, the number of years, the overall impact, if you can quantify that, ideally. And then mapping out all of your team members. And so this is a really fun exercise as well, because you can map out everyone who's on the team, but also pay attention to those unique strengths, because there might be ways that a team member may be underutilized, or just a strength that you didn't think about before and are realizing now, like, hey, they might be a really good fit for helping me run my next event. So mapping out all the team members so who you have at your organization's disposal to really put to work on all of these different marketing initiatives. So when you have this, it can really just set like a very basic tone, but this is really, really handy dandy, especially if you're doing multiple events and multiple marketing initiatives throughout the year, because now if a new team member joins, you can just share this with them and they have everything they need. So, my recommendation for this is just to keep it really tight, keep it really concise. We don't want a big, long document. We want something that is really straight to the point: vision, mission, who our team members are, and also just like the full overview of the organization. What is really, really helpful with this too is to consider like any visuals to aid your vision and mission. I like this little example of, it looks like they created it in Canva, but it really just like ties the mission, visions, and values of the organization together. And a lot of people like myself, I perceive things visually, so that helps me really grasp everything. It's also just like a little bit easier on the eyes. So really quick tips for putting together that. There's the template download again if you wanted to go ahead and download that if you didn't get the chance to earlier. But yeah, this is really helpful. And what is really good about this too is when you go back to your basic vision and mission, that, number one, helps you align all your marketing goals, but also it can lead to some opportunities to maybe do some updating to that vision or mission, and elevating that to your team to say like, oh, is this really what we're doing? Is this really how we want to present ourselves to the world? And that can, lead its own way into, really updating your organization and future proofing it. Okay. And so once you have that backbone in place, you're going to want to take a look at your organization's specific initiatives throughout the year. So, what are the big overall goals that your organization wants to achieve in 2025? So, if one of those things is we need to raise $350,000 through online channels, now you know, oh, we need to hit 350,000. I have the whole year. Exactly where am I doing that, and what different channels and what different events or strategies am I using to hit that $350,000 goal? So it's a really great way to then basically work backwards. And so when you have these like high level goals that your leadership team has set mapped out, you can then, basically work backwards to ensure that you're meeting and exceeding those goals. And one of the great ways to really look ahead is actually to look back first. So, my biggest recommendation for a lot of organizations is to take a look at those goals and then also see what you did this past year. So, mapping out what your overall fundraising goals looked like, what your overall marketing goals looked like. Something like, hey, our goal last year was to raise $450,000 total. We actually got $423,000 raised. So, there was a little bit of a gap there. So now you're identifying, ways that you can drive growth. Some other key performance indicators I do recommend keeping track of and going back to are things like that average gift size, because if you can identify what your average gift size was last year and then set a goal for next year for how to increase it, it's a really good baseline. What's also really, really helpful in calculating donor retention is the total number of donors, that what if you had a goal, or at least the actual total number of donors, and the number of donors that were new donors versus donors who had given in the past. That way you can also calculate your donor retention. And one of the things that I do highly recommend is just identifying how much you raised online versus offline, because those are, of course, different practices and different marketing strategies. So once you are able to take a look back and ideally even identify last year results by channel, so diving into things like, did you do events, did you do direct mail, did you do board gifts, did you do major gifts, how much were all of those things, and think about trying to even calculate that return on investment. So let's say your goal was to hit $75,000 in direct, like from your direct mail sends, and you actually only got $52,000, but it cost $38,000 to send all of that direct mail. Now like, maybe we don't get rid of the channel altogether, but we can scale back a lot. And now we have extra budget to invest in some other channels that are producing that very high return on investment. And so, talked a little bit about that earlier and how you can spend less and actually get more out of your marketing efforts. So, that's all kind of just like going back to go forward. So you're setting the back, you're taking a look at really all of your results from last year so that you're able to set the right goals for this year. So, my recommendation to you is to just gather all the data on last year's performance, connect with your executive director or board or whoever your senior leadership team is, and ask them what their goals are. And then consider maybe those biggest growth opportunities for your organization. And we can talk a little bit more about how to pinpoint those. And also just consider how you're like really bringing the framework, the nonprofit marketing framework, into your strategy and those four fundamental ways to grow fundraising. So we'll talk more about that too. And just think about how you can assign specific and measurable goals to each initiative so that you can really use that to inform your marketing goals. And so the last puzzle piece of this high level organizational strategy and alignment is the SWOT analysis. So when you look back at 2024, you mapped out all those KPIs, ideally, of what you did last year. Now it's time to dive just one level deeper and really see what was working. What were those strengths that really, really worked for you? Were there any channels that really stood out that helped you reach your goals? Were there any events that performed better than you even expected? like what were those standout things that you thought you did really, really well? And those weaknesses is really identifying, what could have been done better, or hopefully what can you remove from your plate this year? And thinking about those things that are good and removing them so you can make way for things that are great. And so highly recommend identifying those weaknesses, because maybe you can remove some things off your plate or get one of those team members to jump in and support. And then those opportunities. So, think about what are things that you want to do that you're not doing yet. What other big ideas and strategies that you might want to use to help achieve your goals? And then threats of, I don't like using threats, but it's part of the title of SWOT analysis. But I like to see threats as, identifying what obstacles are in the way, preventing you from achieving more. And so once you identify those obstacles, then you can come up with a plan to overcome them. So um, there's a really good example on the right here, just a few bullet points. You don't have to go too deep, right? But just identifying those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats and or obstacles. I guess SWOO would be more of my
Swoo.
SWOO analysis for me. Yeah, and just thinking through what brought the most funds, what channels were the most effective, identifying those. Did you get tons of engagement on social? Did you get better engagement on email? Thinking through what went particularly well. And then also, one way to spot some opportunities are to look at similar organizations. So if you know organizations that maybe play in the same space as yours, maybe they don't do the exact same thing, but check out other organizations, see what they're doing that you might want to scope into your work this year. Maybe, one of those organizations has like a really, really great presence with video, and then now like, hey, we could do some videos like that, and that's a big opportunity, right? And then those obstacles, or even just identifying what like gaps in resources, so that then you can go to your team and advocate for what you need. Cool. So we are getting on to audience evaluation. Please stop me if I'm talking too fast. I'm happy to answer questions. I know I'm trying to get to a lot all in one. But number 2 would be audience evaluation. So
Hey,
this
Candace, I will stop you for a second because this question is related to what you just kind of went over. Ashley has a question asking, how are people tracking exact returns to particular channels? When you have multiple channels going at once, how do they track the key KPIs, and where those donations are coming from? They may have seen it on social media. Was it a paid ad, direct mail, organic?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, there's a lot of my recommendation, especially if, as you set yourself up for 2025, is to really take advantage of tracking links.
Right.
I know that's like what we do, so that we can really report really detailed on all of those KPIs across the different channels. So we create a different tracking link using a tool like Bitly, but there's so many different really simple and easy to use tools like that, where it can help you create tracking links. And so you can track how many clicks, and then potentially, like, we use HubSpot for our CRM, and that has its own tracking links, and we can actually track conversions with that. There's other really cool things that you can do, especially with like meta ads, and any advertising usually has a lot of tracking and analytics and reporting built into it. Even email has like some basic tracking built into it, so you can get a pretty good idea of what all the results were, just by using some of those analytics available to you.
And sometimes it's just impossible. You never know if they saw you on Facebook and then went and dropped off a check for you. They're probably not going to tell you, hey, we saw it on Facebook. Some of it's just hard to connect, and you do the best you can, right?
Yeah, and well, what's actually cool is that there are things that you can do to do that specific thing that you mentioned, where we run it a lot for our clients with offline Facebook offline conversion tracking. So we can actually track from, hey, this person saw the ad and then they gave through your website, or they gave like a different through a different channel, and we can kind of like tie some of those impressions that they got from the ads to the actual donation. So and basically kind of show the influence there in the journey. So yeah, there actually is some offline conversion tracking capabilities.
Thanks, Candace.
Yeah. So super excited. These are really great questions coming in. So always happy to answer any questions that anyone has. And so next up, I want to talk a little bit about your audience. So you want to know exactly who your organization is speaking to, so that your marketing efforts are most effective. Because if you're hitting people with asks that don't relate to them, if you're sending them communications that just aren't really aligning with who they are, you're not going to get the most out of your marketing. You could be doing so much, so many good things, but it really is so important to have the right branding, the right tone, and the right just messaging in all of those communications. And so the first up would be to identify your target audience or target audiences. I've yet to meet an organization that only has one target audience. Usually it's like two or three different ones. And so you might want to think about, you know, considering like, hey, there's our offline donors all kind of fall into one category. So they donate by check still, and they're still engaged with our in-person events. Whereas, maybe this other group of younger donors is predominantly gives online. So those are a couple ways that you can segment your audience. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but you might want to look at basic demographics like age, location, what would be prompting them to seek out and give to your organization. Like, is there a triggering event, or maybe a hobby that relates to your organization that is making them more likely to give? And then any other like kind of goals and identifying their career can be really helpful in identifying who you're trying to reach. And so I would think about at least maybe two different target audiences for your organization. And so I have like a little example, and this will be woven through the next few slides. So a coastal preservation nonprofit would target maybe people between the ages of 21 through 35. These individuals may have experienced damage or pollution of the waterways in their neighborhoods. They are both male and female, college educated, live an active and or outdoorsy lifestyle. So that is one example of a target audience. And so when you identify that, now you really know who those ads should be going to, who you're sending those emails to, so that you can craft better communications. And so you want to take a look at your current donor base and look for any similarities in demographics. There are, you don't have to actually do this anymore. It's really great. You can have AI do this for you very, very effectively. Just be careful not to put in any identifying donor information like email or exact address or anything into any of those AI tools. There's other things like donor search and things that really get into the weeds of who your audience is. But, try using maybe an AI tool to help you do that. Can be really effective. And then think about collecting some data from your audience. If you're not sure of their demographics, perfect time to run a survey. If anything, what's great about donor surveys is that it actually opens up the communication, where donors often feel like or can feel like they're just like an ATM. So you're just like asking for more money and they're giving it to you. Where if you open up a donor survey, now they're talking back to you, and you're opening up lines of communication and better understanding your audience. So consider running a survey with your donors from last year to better understand who they are. And then also think about who similar organizations are targeting. And now you can't exactly take a look at exactly who these organizations are targeting. But if you look at similar orgs and go on their website, go on their social media, check out, how their messaging looks, who they might be targeting, that can also be a really good identifier. And so, as a next step, then you want to create your donor persona. So, once you identify your target audience, now you are ready to craft your donor persona. And this is basically assigning a person or a character to that target audience. So, you want to take all those individual traits and make it into a person. You want to name this person. ChatGPT is also very good at this, I will say. But one of my pro tips is actually writing your donor persona based on someone that you know. So pick out kind of your closest few supporters. You want more people like that. So why don't you create communications that attract more people like them? So if you use a actual person to base a donor persona on, you can get really in the weeds of their likes, dislikes, their needs, expectations, desires, motivations, their demographics, their overall attitudes, the types of things that they respond to, identify which segment of your audience like that would align with best. And actually make them into a character so that when you're writing your emails, you're not just writing to, hey everybody, please donate. You're writing to, hey, Susan, you've been a longtime supporter. I would love for you to give again. And it just changes how you write and craft all of those communications. So, example here, coastal preservation or restoration organization might have Ryan assigned as a persona. He's a young active male. He works remotely in San Diego. He goes surfing. He has a dog. He's financially stable. He's 27. And he just loves the beach, but he's often trying to surf, and then he comes across oil spills and garbage on the beach. And so he's going to be, the exact type of person that would support an organization whose efforts are to clean up the beaches that he goes to every day. And he's also on his phone a lot, and he uses Instagram a lot. So we know, hey, maybe Instagram ads might be a good way to get in front of more Ryans. Okay, so I know that's a lot. I want to keep us moving with just like keeping track of time. So, I want to talk a little bit about competitive analysis. So, this is to help you identify what makes your organization unique and what other opportunities that you have to improve your organization as a whole. So, you want to do a bit more research into other organizations that have similar missions, even if they're working in a different area than you, or especially if they're working in a different area than you, like location wise, or just looking at those other organizations and seeing what you are doing that they aren't doing so that you have those unique points of like, hey, we're the only organization that you found that does X, Y, and Z. That is a really, really strong reason for a supporter to donate to your organization, because you can identify what only your organization is doing, and I guarantee there is something that only your organization is doing. So by identifying those unique characteristics, you can have some really, really strong messaging come out of that. And by looking at what other organizations are doing better, you can use that to inspire your own plans and help you improve your communications. And so, for example, with our coastal preservation restoration organization, they organization A is a nonprofit that organizes community events to clean up the coastline, but they compete because their competitor, this other organization, has paid Google ads running at the same keywords that we would like to rank for organically. And so a really nice next step would be, hey, maybe we use more of our Google ad grant to help us bump up and rank with these keywords. And then maybe we also invest in some paid Google advertising. I wanted to just like take a quick pause here. So for all of the organizations here, I would think that many, if not all of you, qualify for the free Google ad grant. If you're not sure what this is, it is free $10,000 a month in Google advertising so that you can drive more traffic to your website. So I highly recommend, if you're not taking advantage of this opportunity, you're passing up $120,000 in free advertising for your organization a year. So we do have some resources. I think we'll drop that in the chat as well. So definitely take advantage of the Google ad grants. I like to pause here because I know we have about 15 minutes left, but If you need a little bit more help with your plan and you're like, hey, this was just like a lot of information all at once, and I need this broken down for me. I need some help in identifying what my goals even should look like. Feel free to book time with our team of digital marketing experts. You can talk to one of my lovely team members here at Community Boost, and we'll just identify what your goals are, and we'll, map that into the strategies that you can use to meet and exceed your marketing and fundraising goals in 2025. So feel free to book some time to chat with our team if you're like, I just need a little bit more personalized attention for your plan. All right. Now we have finally gotten to number 3, setting those individual goals, the key performance indicators, and the strategies. So the purpose of this part is to really map out all of those 2025 marketing goals and the initiatives that you can put in for measurable success. So this is probably an oldie, but a goodie for some of you. If you haven't heard this before, I highly, highly recommend setting SMART marketing goals. So this would be specific. So having a really specific thing that you're trying to do, measurable, so that you're, really assigning those key performance indicators so that you're able to measure if you reach success. Attainable. So if you do that analysis of 2024 and the goals for this year are just, there's no way that that would be possible given what you've done in the past, you might want to reconsider those goals, so that you're able to reach them, and not overestimate or underestimate what your team is able to do. Relevant. So making sure that these goals that you're setting help you reach those organizational initiatives, and also time bound. So if you have this goal, but it's like, hey, sometime this year we want to hit this amount of followers on Facebook, that's not very specific, because now you have a whole year and that could be the last day of the year you're getting a bunch of new followers. So setting those time limits are actually really, really effective in helping you achieve those goals, and making them realistic. So hopefully you can create some smart marketing goals. We have some examples here for you. So first one would just be to say, hey, we want to grow our email list to convert and retain more donors. And so getting into a little bit more of the description to make it specific, this year we will be implementing new tools to help us help us get more people subscribing to our newsletter via social media, and on our website, because it is one of our top channels for re-engaging donors and turning one-time givers into recurring donors. The goal of this initiative is to consistently grow our email list each month to nurture our community and boost retention. And we also want this channel to become a reliable way to contribute to our monthly fundraising goals by adding 100 new recurring donors this year. And so the metrics to measure is, how many emails that you're sending a week. Assigning like maybe 1 email a week seems a good place to start. Trying to attract 500 new subscribers per month. That way, if you're less than that, hey, we need to catch up here, or we need to take another look at our goals and see if that still aligns. Getting a certain amount of open rate and click-through rate, 25% and 7%, respectively. And then, continually counting the number of one-time donors that are converted to recurring donors. So really just like practical example. So think about your different channels. Even if you do this with a few of them, it'll be a really great exercise so that you can name these things. So just think about, what marketing channels you want to be considering to generate awareness and acquire, increase the average gift size and retain more donors. And then exactly how you'll be tracking success from within those channels. And you might have a different approach for each channel, right? Like your social media might be a different target audience. Your presence on social media might have a different target audience, than, even your emails that get sent out. Or you might want to do some segmented email communication so that you're, attracting multiple audiences that way. So, other things to consider is, looking up like exactly what metrics align with each different channel. I have a lot of suggested channels for you. So, what I recommend is not necessarily trying everything new. Like, map out literally every single channel that your organization is already on. Is Are you on Facebook? Are you on Instagram? Are you using email? Are you using direct mail? Each and every one of those things that you use and you have used to engage your audience, to drive donations, map them all out for yourself, and then pick maybe like 2 to 3 new things to try this year, because you can't boil the ocean. You want to be really mindful with testing new things but making it approachable for your organization. So, a few things that you might want to consider is like the conversion rate optimization of your website. So, getting more people on your website to actually convert to either a donor or just even giving you their email address. Email marketing. So, if you're already doing email marketing, maybe you want to really look into a more segmented approach. Maybe you want to double down on that channel because you saw it worked really well for you last year. Kind of thinking through like short form video, so TikTok, Reels, things like that. Even on Facebook and LinkedIn, short form video is proving to be winning. So think about, not just the channels themselves, but also the content that you're using for each of them. Your organic social media channels, your paid social advertising like Facebook and Instagram ads. TikTok advertising is also really effective. I know people can't really download it new right now, but there's still like billions of users on there. So take a look at that. The Google Ad Grant, like I said earlier, if you're not leveraging this, now is the time. I highly recommend testing out remarketing with YouTube and display ads. This is a really great way to consistently get in front of people who you have their email address, or if they've maybe engaged with some of your videos before. You can actually just continue to remind that audience that, hey, your organization is here, you're doing incredible work, and then get them to convert later on, or even targeting past donors. Really great way to stay in front of them at a low cost using Microsoft ads. So, lots of people still use Bing. I know it doesn't, I don't use Bing on a daily basis, but so many people really do. So don't sleep on Microsoft ads. The grant that they offered, it's more of like a matching grant. So if you spend a certain amount, they'll also comp a certain amount in free advertising up to a certain dollar amount. That should be reopening soon, just like, so keep an eye out for that. There's digital audio advertising. So, gone are the days of radio, maybe, still effective for some organizations. But, everyone's on Spotify or listening to podcasts. So, audio ads might be a good thing to test. SMS, so like mass texting your audience, TikTok ads if it's available for you, and so much more. And so, yeah, so definitely take a look at, combining some of those channels into your marketing plan and assigning certain dollar amounts as well as the metrics that you're using to achieve your goals. So I know that's a lot. Just I guess a quick note, for Community Boost, we work with hundreds of organizations each year to help them meet and exceed their marketing goals. So if you would like to learn more about leveraging the Google Ad Grant, or really anything that I just shared about with your organization, feel free to book time to chat with our team. We would love to just chat with you. We'll talk about what your high level goals are and also map out the channels that you could be using to reach and exceed those goals. There's no obligation. You don't have to use us. We'll just help you map it out. And if you want to go on and put your plan into action on your own, you're able to do that, but feel free to use us as a resource. And so I think we put that link to book time. And then again, would just love to see you back at the Nonprofit Marketing Summit Evolve on March 4th through 6th. You'll see Lori there and myself and so many of our team members. And so there's just going to be so many really valuable sessions. And you'll walk away with CFRE credits if that's something that you're going for. So you can register. And I really hope to see you there. It's all virtual and it's free. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Candace. I appreciate each and every one of you for spending a little bit of time with us today. I know Candace downloaded a lot of stuff to you. We will have the slides, we will have the replay, and her and Princy are two of the kindest people in the marketing world here and so focused on mission-driven organizations. So take the opportunity to grab a little slot of time as well. Come to the conference. The list of speakers is gigantic and growing every day, and it's a huge variety of people as well as subject matter. So Candace, thank you for putting that on, and thank you for coming here and chatting with us today. I appreciate you providing the not-for-profit marketing plan template to us, your time, as well as all the information.
Thank you, Lori, for having me. And thank you, everyone, for being here. It's always so nice to see. I hope that this was effective and helpful for you. Hope I didn't overwhelm anyone. Definitely feel free to reach out if you need any support or resources. And yeah, Lori, just thank you again for having me. I really appreciated being here.
Awesome. I always wish everybody bids that soar, but I guess today I'll hone in on I hope you crush your fundraising goals and I hope your marketing plan aligns. Candace, I'll give you the very, very last word and then I'll hit the end button.
All right. Well, thank you again, Lori, and thank you everyone for being here. I wish you a merry fundraising and a marketing year. I hope that you all reach and exceed your goals in 2025.